Ladies and gentlemen, a record breaking number of Americans are about to lose their homes. And they said because of the pandemic, this could go on for several years. So, this is The Atlantic, July 15th, 2020. A lot of Americans are about to lose their homes. The current housing crisis could get messy quickly, but fixing it shouldn't be complicated if Congress intervenes. The COVID-19 pandemic is a historical accelerant. It has compressed 10 years of online shopping growth into a few months. Bankrupt chains that were in steady decline hastened democratic gains in the Sun Belt, sped up an urban exodus from America's most expensive cities, and persuaded many grandmothers to finally use Instacart. All of this was bound to happen eventually. The coronavirus just mashed its big fat thumb on the fast forward button, and now a housing problem, years in the making, is dangerously close to spiraling out of control. Before the pandemic, half of US renters spent 30% of their income on housing. The poorest of Americans spent more than half their income on rent on average. Even in a healthy economy, housing costs were eating workers' wages. Then the plague hit, and low income workers were hit hardest. With the face to face economy shut down, the retail and leisure industry shed tens of millions of jobs in a matter of weeks. An analysis by NYU Furman Center found that in New York City, the household most likely to face economic disruption, including losing a job or having hours cut back, spend the highest share of income on housing. Without intervention, the COVID-19 induced economic crisis is in danger of becoming a housing crisis. Now, y'all, they already said we're in a recession. So this would definitely make it far worse. Data on rent payments are hard to come by, but one survey has found that a third of Americans say they failed to make a full housing payment. In June, by September, more than 20 million renters will be at risk of eviction, especially as eviction moratoriums comes to an end. Without income, renters can't pay rent and utility. Without monthly payments, landlords and other companies can't make mortgage and bond payments. Perhaps this is all starting to sound like a redux of the mid 2000 housing crisis. It's not. The Great Recession was driven in large part by declining standards in mortgage underwriting. When the bubble burst, foreclosures soared, homes stood empty, housing prices fell, ownership rates fell, and more people rented in dense cities. In 2020 housing market is the opposite in most every way. Demand for downtown apartment is deteriorating. So people are not flocking to the city to rent those expensive apartments anymore. Sales of newly built homes rose faster in June than any month since 2005. Watchdogs perceive no trouble in underwriting rather than too many houses. The hot market is defined by a historic under supply of single family and multifamily houses, thanks to a decade of insufficient building and now the shutdown of new construction in much of the country. Still, one thing unites the crisis of 2020 and 2008: the urgent need for intervention by the US government. The current housing crisis could get messy quickly, but fixing it shouldn't be complicated. It will just take something that, unlike public health competence, the federal government has a nearly infinite supply of money. In March, Congress passed the CARES Act, which distributed a one-time stimulus check of tens of millions of households, expanded unemployment benefits by $600 a week, and made them available to self-employed and gig workers, and authorized distribution of hundreds of billions of dollars to companies to keep them from laying off their workers. Meanwhile, dozens of cities and states passed moratoriums on evictions and foreclosures. Hurried by patchy as these programs might seem, they've largely worked to keep people in their homes. They need to be extended. Yeah, or a terrible economy will get far worse. There are two things we need to do right now, said Bill McBride, an economic writer at the blog Calculated Risk. First, we need to keep doing CARE Acts until this is over. I agree with that. It needs to be ongoing, and it's just not good enough the way they're doing it. You get a stimulus check in April, and some people got it in May, and then there's this big gap, and now they may work on another one and you'll get another payment in August. That's not good enough. It really, other countries are giving their populations money on a monthly basis, and there's no reason why they can't do that here other than greed, the usual greed. Okay, back to this. If we run the debt up $10 trillion, it will be money saved. Second, we've got to get a grip on the pandemic, and that probably means shutting every indoor business down for a few months again and moving as much outdoor as we can. Pandemics are complicated, but pandemic economics is simple. Get families cash, or people will go hungry and lose their homes. Get companies cash, or firms will fire their workers and disappear from their communities. Stop the pandemic, or else suffering and devastation will continue no matter how much cash we spend. The United States has been terrible at following the third rule, but in the next few weeks, Congress has a chance to do what it does best: appropriate money. If it doesn't, we will all accelerate into a world nobody wants to live in. Well, we shall see. One thing about America, America does have a lot of money, but America is a very stingy nation. It always has been. And as of now, the way they're doing this stimulus money is a joke. It really is. You call yourself a superpower, you call yourself one of the richest nations in the world, and this is the best you're doing for your people that have been out here working and paying their taxes. This is the best you can do. It's so insulting. But hey, go no further than the people that are running it. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.